Hello, YouTube. It's been a while. This is my review for the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Tyrant. If you haven't seen the episodes, this will contain spoilers, so maybe watch those first. Okay, so Tyrant Season 1 wasn't exactly stellar, but it has Howard Gordon at the helm, and for those who like their Middle East intrigue, it definitely has that. Although, as the AV Club said in an article, it's kind of overpowered by sugar and salt and then spoon-fed to you. I definitely agree with that comment about being spoon-fed and also just the caricatures. I mean, Jamal is a total caricature, but I was glad to see that Leila's role was expanded so far, and I'm also glad to see that the wife and the kids are out of the picture, meaning that they're back in the States. Although they keep showing all this stuff from the States, which I'm not exactly thrilled about. Hopefully it'll improve. At least Jennifer Finnigan, Barry's wife, at least her character seems a little bit more three-dimensional, but I'm still not really into her character. And hopefully things will get more exciting. I did read a spoiler by Howard Gordon that was saying that the whole season has a certain biblical, certain epic idea where Barry is believed to be dead, plus there's a confluence of events and the country is thrown into a civil war that his son Sammy and wife Molly find themselves in the middle. So, huge spoiler there. But yeah, Barry is presumed to be dead because at the end of episode 1, they actually hang someone and everyone thinks it's Barry. And for a second there, actually, I was hoping that it was Barry. I was hoping that Tyrant was pulling a Game of Thrones, that they were just going to rewrite the rule book and that Barry would be out of the picture and that they would somehow just reinvent the show into the Jamal and Leila show, where it's kind of like any kind of crazy Middle Eastern dictator and his wife. I love the part where Leila's kind of talking about shutting down Twitter. Like her whole kind of ideology is basically like she just wants to be loved. And she just thinks that, shutting down Twitter will solve the problem when in fact it's not going to because she doesn't understand that the people, who are tweeting are pretty angry and you need to deal with the people. You can't just start blocking, social media. But it's quite on point because, as we know, there's quite a few Middle Eastern countries who block Twitter from time to time. So I like how it's very timely and it's dealing with all of that global kind of intrigue from the Middle East. And I'm glad that they're actually paying attention to real life events. Like, for example, China is actually investing a lot of money in Africa. And so here we have China investing in Abuddin, and Jamal even appoints his son as the Minister of Energy Development, despite him wanting to open up some kind of hotel in London. I like the little humorous quotes there where Jamal says, "Why would you move to a place without sun?" And then the son says, "I don't mind the rain." And then Jamal says, "And the people, their skin looks like cheese." And it's kind of cute, it's kind of funny, kind of just seeing a little bit of humor thrown into the mix. Okay, so Ihab Rashid's men are killing Tariq's soldiers, and I'm glad to see that there's like more of an expanded role for Ihab Rashid and his men and Samira and her father. And General Tariq wants a limited chemical attack on that neighborhood, which Jamal's not into. I really like the scene though with Samira and her father. Her father in season 1, he was Barry's friend. Samira's father says, "Half of you are Islamists, the other half is liberals. What will it be, democracy or theocracy?" And then Samira says, "We can argue about what kind of country this is going to be after the Al Fayeds are gone." It's a really important conversation to have, and I'm glad that they're really kind of expanding the scope of Ihab Rashid and the quote-unquote insurgents, as Tariq likes to call them. The word insurgent is a funny word. I mean, one faction's insurgency can be another faction's savior, and such has been history since time began. And while I haven't personally experienced war or violence, my parents have, and perhaps that's why I'm drawn to such stories. In watching this over a second time, like, I really think that they could have done a tighter job. Like, I know that they're trying to build Jamal's family, but the whole thing with Jamal's son and his wife, I think they just kind of jammed too much into the first episode, and I kind of like those episodes where they just focused on, one or two major plot points for the entire episode, rather than trying to focus on every single character a little bit. They could have really focused on Ihab Rashid's insurgency or his cause. I love the part where they've kind of showed some of the other minor characters that are part of Ihab Rashid's group, and one of them says, "I don't want to become a martyr to a hopeless cause. We'll never have enough enough bullets or bombs to beat Jamal. We're dying for nothing and they're blaming us, and look at us, we're turning on each other. I mean, I love that stuff about where you have this kind of insurgency or rebel cause or freedom fighters and they're getting beat down, and it's just showing both sides of the story because, you have Leila, high and mighty Leila, who just is like, she's so privileged that she doesn't really know what it's like. Not that I want to get into Game of Thrones territory here, but it's kind of like Cersei in Game of Thrones, where she has no clue what the common people are actually going through on a daily basis. And I guess where Tyrant just kind of misses the mark a bit is that it doesn't really know what it's trying to be, or maybe it's just trying to be everything. Like it's trying to be this somewhat cheesy, overdramatic soap opera in the Middle East, but it's also trying to be like super heartfelt and political and poignant and on point. I'd be curious to know in the comments if any of you caught that little Al Jazeera joke by Leila where she's like, "Those monkeys are calling you Hamlet." And a lot of the Middle Eastern countries actually don't like Al Jazeera, which is again on point because obviously in this fictional country, Leila and Jamal don't think much of Al Jazeera at all. But it's good to know that Leila does think a lot about Barry. In fact, she actually thinks that Barry is actually executed, and great little performance there where she's vomiting and crying. Also, a great performance by Jamal and Barry's mother upon hearing that Jamal executed Barry. And of course, the episode ends with the big reveal that I was kind of hoping wasn't going to happen, that Barry is still alive. And of course, Jamal couldn't do it. He couldn't kill Barry and leaves him in the desert to die. So at this point, I would say that Tyrant is not exactly like retooled and re-envisioned. It's kind of mildly tweaked, but it's pretty much the same premise as season one so far because, Barry and his wife are the main characters even before Jamal and Leila. Dang. Thankfully, the very pretty Ann Winters is now special guest star, which bodes well for the series because if they're gonna downplay like the family drama, that's a good thing. Another good thing is that we're getting like spectacular desert scenery, which is pretty cool. And I have to say that the architecture and the scenery, I mean, I love just looking at the background and the scenery in this show. The buildings, everything is stunning. The flashbacks to Barry as a child again in the deserts, drinking from the water, Barry's journey in the desert. And the highlight for me was when he kind of broke down and began praying or crying from the heat. I know this show, and I know that Howard Gordon just has some kind of proclivity towards young children and families in almost every TV show that he does. But honestly, I mean, if you would remove all of the family stuff from the first three episodes and maybe just cram them or compile them all into like one episode, maybe episode 4, episode 5, that might be like a better way to go because I keep kind of getting into the show and then I get out of the show, and then I get into the show and I get out of the show, and I'm constantly zoning out whenever it's the wife, the kids, and actually even Jamal's son and his wife not really doing it for me. My favorite characters by far are Jamal, Leila, and all the insurgency stuff. I do kind of like Barry's little roam in the desert as well. His harrowing journey in the wilderness and his rescue by the common people. That's compelling storytelling. I'm a huge fan of that movie Into the Wild. Not only the premise of the show, but just the way that it didn't spoon feed you. Like it wasn't constant bashing you on the head with exposition and trying to explain everything. It let you think. It let your mind and your soul breathe. And it was an inner journey for the main character just as much as it was an inner journey for the audience watching. And that's kind of what Bassam's whole journey through the desert could have been as well. And it kind of was to a degree if it wasn't intercut constantly with everything else going on. I mean, I could have watched Barry, getting rescued and put on that camel. I mean, that whole thing could have been like spliced all together into one 30-minute sequence, and it would have been spectacular to watch. So then we get to the insurgency and the attack, the assassination attempt at the opening ceremony for the oil fields. And that ends pretty quickly with the soldier's death or the insurgent's death. And then, of course, in the next episode, we then see the retaliation by General Tarek using chemical weapons. I literally thought Jamal was going to choke Tariq to death in that scene. And up until this point, I actually thought that Leila was evil. I thought that she knew everything that Jamal was up to, and she was just going along with it. I didn't think she really cared whether there was any kind of mass casualties. But, it was a big eye opener when I realized, like, she just wants the glory and the fame, and she actually is a little bit naive in thinking that nothing bad happens in when you're running, when you're a dictator of a war-torn, oil-rich Middle Eastern country that's steeped in insurgency and practically civil war. I love her quote, I mean, where she says, I wanted to believe you. I wanted us to be different, not like your father. This is not how it was supposed to be for us. I wanted to be loved by my people. I wanted to be a mother of a country. Now look what you did. We can never make it right. We can never put it back, Jamal. What I don't really get, though, is that if Jamal is running the country, why can Tariq just use chemical weapons whenever he feels like it? I mean, I guess, is that the way things happen in those countries? I mean, I always thought that like Saddam Hussein was like the man in charge, not his general. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems like Tariq has way too much authority. So Barry's rescuers eventually kind of figure out not exactly who he is, but he tells them enough, but not everything, and they don't totally trust him. And a little bit of a side plot going on there, but apparently he's going to be sent off near the Lebanese border. It's a safe house, and he's being sent there because the people who've rescued him have told him that the Al Fayeds, like Jamal and Tariq, have used chemical weapons and killed many people. And so the guy even says, like the Jamal is committing the sins of his father. And Barry looks horrified because he thinks that Jamal has become this lunatic who's just killing thousands of people with chemical weapons, not really knowing that it's General Tariq. And I guess we'll see how that actually plays out because, I mean, is General Tariq the big bad, or can Jamal and Barry ever become good brothers again? Is Barry going to have to stay in hiding? So before I go into spoilery predictions based on the previews for next week, I'll just kind of sum up the first three episodes. Well, my impressions for the first three episodes is that it's a promising show. I like the whole premise, and I can kind of see where it's going. I really, the family is definitely being downplayed, but it could be downplayed even more. And that goes for Jamal's son and his wife. I'm not into like the uber cheesy melodramatic soap operas. I don't like shows that try to make it too simplistic or too black and white. I think that this show could do really well if they actually made everyone a little bit more gray. I mean, Barry should not be some kind of savior, and Jamal should not be some kind of demon, nor Tariq for that matter. I mean, Tariq is quite the caricature of like the big bad. And likewise, the resistance or the insurgency, they can't be portrayed as just this helpless little group that's trying to do good. There should be some type of moral dilemma going on there too. What do you guys think? Is the show too simplistic? Is there not enough gray area? Is there too much black and white characterization? Let me know in the comments. If you don't want to know about the promo for next week, you can stop watching now. Otherwise, here's the promo. So, what's a soap opera without the mystery baby? Yes, Jamal has another son. He has a British accent. Some government officials are on Barry's tail. And yes, some type of major civil war is about to break out. That's it for this recap review of the first three episodes of season 2 of Tyrant. Rectify is one of my most favoritist TV shows ever, and it actually season 3 premieres this Thursday. So if you want me to do more reviews or recaps for Tyrant, Rectify, or any other shows that are currently on that I'm watching, including Penny Dreadful, and of course the ever cheesy Under the Dome, which is I would love to bash actually, but just let me know what you would love to see or hear from me, and I'll do my best to try to get some more reviews up as soon as I have time. Thanks for watching or listening, and feel free to like, share, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.